preview. It's week 2 already. It's flying by, but your decisions need to be made. We've got to discuss things, and we've got to discuss the week 2 preview part 1, Tampa Bay and Carolina in bloom. Tampa Bay makes me sad because I was so interested in Jameis Winston, so excited about Chris Godwin and OJ Howard, and always excited about Mike Evans. Now we've got word that Peyton Barber's still the starter. That's cool, but Ronald Jones looked better. Will Jones continue to prove himself and get a larger role? Will he produce against the Panthers? This one's on the road for the Bucs. But week 1 couldn't have been, I guess it could have been worse for Tampa Bay, but it certainly didn't live up to the expectations that we had for him. What about this week?
Yeah, this is a theme of avoiding 0-2. Only 1-0 team in the NFC South down here in New Orleans after a thriller, maybe the best regular season game of the year in week 1. So you're right. It's about these expectations. Jameis, Bruce Arians, no risk it, no biscuit. This is going to be perfect. Well, no biscuits, lots of risk it. So we're going to see that against this very tough Carolina defense. Remember, they frustrated Jared Goff, although they were able to give up a lot on the ground to Ronald Jones, maybe in this one. I don't know. We saw the Rams running game, which is a very good running game, rack up yards, Todd Gurley finishing that game, Malcolm Brown finishing those drives. So maybe Ronald Jones creeping into our what the heck flex zone, although this is a road game, a Thursday night game. And as you said, Bruce Arians saying, hey, Peyton Barber still the starter. It's a tough draw for Mike Evans and Brashad Perryman. I think Evans will get Bradbury. You're still going to stick with Mike Evans in this one, but it's going to be a lot of balls to Chris Godwin and maybe an OJ Howard bounce back game. We saw Tyler Higbee score a touchdown against Carolina last week, but this new look Carolina defense didn't really put their stamp on a game last week. The new look Tampa offense didn't put their stamp on a game last week. So both of these teams are looking to avoid 0-2 because we know 0-2 doesn't mean your season's over, but it might.
Yeah, 0-2, not a good way to start, but as Steely Scent says, gotta love starting the day with the Audible Bloom. You love that, by the way.
Yeah.
You love the little super.
I got one in. Yeah, it's fun.
Okay, it is very fun. It's fun to do this show with you, and it's fun to have, 3 stories yesterday I had a comment on all about Greg Olsen. Bloom, like, yes, we get it. He's getting rest. It's fine. I don't need what does Carolina have, like 2 beat writers anyway? Mm-hmm. Seriously, on our newswire, it's like Greg Olsen, he's getting rest. Greg Olsen expected to play. Like, yes, we get it. Greg Olsen's getting some rest, and it kind of brings up in my mind, Bloom, like Greg Olsen versus OJ Howard. Like, sure. who you leaning towards there? And of course, you're always leaning towards Christian McCaffrey. We'd like to see more from Curtis Samuel. Certainly, Cam Newton's throwing motion still weird to me, Bloom, but this one's at home to keep pounding for Carolina up against a divisional opponent that they should beat. How badly could they beat them, and who is it?
Yeah, you got to hold serve here. And see, this is kind of like the exotic smash mouth where we thought that's not going to be very good. In the first year it was. The second year, the league caught up. We saw Norv Turner, old man Norv. He's not going to open up the offense. He's not going to make it exciting. It was exciting, at least until Cam Newton got hurt last year. Wasn't exciting in week 1. Some of that we could chalk up to all the resources that they devoted to slowing down Aaron Donald. Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh aren't quite Aaron Donald. But Cam Newton wasn't doing much as a runner or a passer. Again, the game plan held him back. Tampa's defense looked better. Tampa's defense isn't necessarily one with a big target on its back. Remember, it was actually Jameis Winston accounting for as many touchdowns as the San Francisco offense in that game, defensive touchdowns for San Francisco. DJ Moore looked like the number 1 in terms of targets. But again, they weren't passing downfield. They weren't taking a lot of chances against the Rams. So is this a splash game for Curtis Samuel? I think these guys are still wide receiver 3 flex types. Newton is not an automatic start. Short week could be kind of rough around the edges. Again, all the theme is going to be reinterpreting week 1 based on what happens in week 2. So was it just a one-off game plan? Cam Newton come back from injury. Maybe his foot isn't totally feeling great yet, but against Tampa, you're going to see this team really spread their wings. We'll see. We'll see how much of that was the Rams defense and how much of it is, again, Tampa's defense playing better. Is Olsen even playing? Look, on a short week, when he's saying it's not ideal, you don't want to play him. You want to go with another option at tight end. Even some of these tight ends that are splitting time, like CJ Uzoma or Blake Jarwin or something like that, because we could see a lot of Ian Thomas in this game. And Christian McCaffrey sees 1,000. Yeah,
Let's
we're
do it.
well on our way. And the conservative Norv Turner game plans are going to feed right into that.
And there's the Saints fan, Rodney, for you. Hashtag who dat?
Yeah.
So is it possible for both teams to lose tomorrow night? And McCaffrey, 1,000, sure. Only Marshall and Roger Craig have done that before. Very, very exclusive club. And we could see Christian McCaffrey there. We could see ourselves talking about the 49ers and the Bengals. What a segue, Bloom. And speaking of 49, I got Buccaneers, 49ers on my mind. I got the disappointment of that game on my mind. Well, now with the Bengals, thank you, Zach Taylor, right? We'll get to the Bengals in a little bit, but thank you, Zach Taylor. Like, the Bengals are really interesting now, and they've got their own issues to deal with. We'll get to in a little bit, but on the San Francisco side, we saw a bit more than we saw from Tampa last week, but does that continue now? Of course, Breida there, the top guy, Mostert filling in because, of course, Tevin Coleman's injured, and Jimmy Garoppolo trying not to get yelled at or replaced on that team. We're all starting George Kittle. Who else from the 49ers, though?
Yeah, maybe just George Kittle. And San Francisco gets a win. Hey, any road win in the NFL is something to be proud of. And they're going to be on the road again. And I see San Francisco, Cincinnati, I think Super Bowl memories. Incredible Super Bowls between those teams, and Joe Montana ripping the heart out of fans. So Jimmy Garoppolo, not in our fantasy lineups, and maybe not in the San Francisco lineup soon enough. We're looking at the doomsday clock for him, and Nick Mullins coming up. You're going to see a Raheem Mostert and Matt Breida split. Breida already had to leave the game to get checked for a concussion. I don't know that Mostert's a better start than Breida, but maybe he'll have more value over the rest of the season. Jeffrey Wilson also called up there. Remember, George Kittle had 2 touchdowns called back, so it could have been a bigger game for him. It is Deebo Samuel and Marquise Goodwin basically as the starters. This is a ploy to motivate Dante Pettis. I don't know if we'll see more Dante Pettis. I don't know how much it was him being banged up. I love seeing my man Richie James getting the long touchdown there. Let's see some more Richie James. But we're not trusting anybody in this passing game except George Kittle, and that includes one Jimmy Garoppolo. Is again 1-0 start, road win, but all's not well with San Francisco.
Yeah, all's not well with that team. We'll see if they can fix it against Cincinnati at home. Now, Joe Mixon day-to-day with an ankle injury. Bloom, let me know the latest there. If I think the only thing we've got is that he's day-to-day. I don't think it was a high ankle sprain. I don't think that's out there. It's just like a good old regular ankle sprain, but that's still something that could slow him down. Not slowing down John Ross, knock on wood, who's with me. And John Ross playing, dare we say, like we said yesterday, a little bit like Tyreek Hill. Still has some drops, still not the greatest route runner, but has crazy, insane speed. It's kind of making Tyler Boyd fantasy GMs be like, oh, I thought I had something without A.G. Green. And, we'll see how it goes this time, but at least Zach Taylor's made Andy Dalton a streaming option. I mean, is he going to go for 400 yards again? Like, this is setting up here at home for Cincinnati to have more excitement than I thought a week ago.
Yeah, that's the big story here is we were excited about Arizona's offense, the young offensive coach causing an offense to have a lot more potential. Actually, the Cincinnati's got the same thing going on. Pass heavy, let one get away. What would we be saying about Cincinnati if they had gone into Seattle and won week 1? They played well enough to do it. Andy Dalton played well enough to do it. He becomes an interesting streamer. He becomes an interesting quarterback too. Now, San Francisco got some contributions from Nick Bosa. He's another one, knock on wood, that he stays healthy. But I think we're going to see a pass-heavy offense here. Tyler Boyd is still a very solid, strong play in PPR leagues. We'll see Richard Sherman. I think John Ross would burn Richard Sherman. So John Ross has a chance for an encore in this one. And yeah, he may drop one for every long one he catches. But in fantasy, as long as he's getting those targets, and again, in a pass-heavy offense, he will get those targets. Then John Ross is at least a what the heck flex this week. You shouldn't be surprised. Although maybe it's just the power of him going back to the Pacific Northwest where he was a star, University of Washington. And I think a security guard at the stadium too, part-time.
Yes.
So he knows those confines. Is Joe Mixon going to play? Again, we saw Ronald Jones. We saw a Tampa running game that didn't do much last year get on track against San Francisco last week. So if Joe Mixon plays, I'll put him in the lineup. If Joe Mixon doesn't play, then probably Giovanni Bernard should be in your lineup as a running back too. And again, we saw the Tyler Eifert, CJ Uzoma split. Eifert staying healthy, Uzoma making some plays. These are bottom of the barrel tight ends probably because San Francisco did a good job on O.J. Howard last week, which again makes you think, John Ross, what do you do for an encore?
Yeah, what do you do? And by the way, Bloom, would you agree with me if I said this? Gio Bernard needs to be in your lineup regardless. If Mixon's out, then he's an
Yeah.
RB2. If Mixon's in, he's a what the heck flex?
I think that Mixon was getting Scott Barrett talked about this on the couch last week, about 70% of the snaps and touches. So it was still wasn't quite the dominant touch share that he had gotten in the past. But if he's coming in, let's put it this way, if he's questionable, and then it would make sense for this team to be a 50-50 split. And it would certainly make a better case for Giovanni Bernard as a what the heck flex.
LA Chargers traveling to the Motor City to take on the Detroit Lions. And, well, we know they're still don't have Melvin Gordon. That's fine. The way Austin Eckler was playing, totally fine. Now, Mike Williams banged up with the knee injury suffered in week 1 against the Colts. So we're kind of watching the practice reports for that. Other than that, again, knock on wood, guys like Hunter Henry, they're okay enough. Although you saw Henry get a little bit beat up in that Colts game. So the Chargers kind of rinse, repeat, Bloom, this time traveling to face Detroit, who we saw, well, eventually you could move the ball on. Chargers might do that a little sooner than the Cardinals did.
Just the story of Philip Rivers' career, punching his way out of corners, the offensive line in shambles, still getting the win, even with the Colts making the comeback, sending the game to overtime. This is going to be one of those narrow offenses, which is really good and predictable for fantasy football, whether it's Keenan Allen, the clear number 1 receiver, or Austin Eckler, who's remaining heavily involved as a receiver and really is more of a lead feature back with Justin Jackson as a backup. Hold on to him because we're not sure about how Eckler is going to hold up under this workload for as long as Melvin Gordon is out. Hunter Henry was quiet for a lot of the game against the Colts. He did come on, have a solid score. But again, I think he's clearly behind Eckler and Allen here. And we'll certainly see, the Detroit defense. Let's remember both teams played overtime games last week, and the Lions played a tie, and the Lions played a team that racked up plays. So how's this Detroit defense going to feel coming in to their home opener? They're going to be a little wore down. Mike Williams got a little banged up, and he wasn't doing much before he got banged up. And again, with Eckler and Allen at the top of this offense, you're looking at Henry and you're looking at Mike Williams as more secondary targets, although that Detroit defense is wore down coming in after that overtime game. The Chargers, again, overcoming some challenges with their offense. I got to tip the cap to Philip Rivers.
Tip the cap, as always, to the Detroit Lions. Matt Patricia reaffirming his trust in Matthew Stafford. Why is this a story? Because TV cameras caught him saying, trust me? Yeah, of course. It's Matthew Stafford. We know what he's going to do. We know how this Lion team wants to operate, but they actually do it this week because TJ Hawkinson, as fantastic as he was, it's still a Vance Joseph defense. We're back. And it's still, wide open passes that he was catching. Now, he was doing it. It was targeted in the red zone and taking nothing away from TJ Hawkinson. Certainly there, Bloom. But I think we all kind of expected more Kerryon Johnson. We didn't get it. Do we get it this week against the Chargers?
Chargers run defense. What Marlon Mack had quite the afternoon against them. So probably going back to carry on here, even though we saw a lot of CJ Anderson. One of the things that we're going to have to step back and take another look at is how much of Detroit's performance through the air was the Arizona defense. How much was it a faster pace, a game that really encouraged them to come out of their shell because we expected this to be a really run-heavy offense. The Chargers faced a somewhat conservative Indy offense last week. Again, giving it up, though, to Marlon Mack. And Danny Amendola's touchdown was on a busted coverage, so I'm not sure we're going back to him. He might be one of those week 1 waiver mirages. TJ Hawkinson's not a mirage. I mean, I understand it's the game. No Derwin James in this one. So you're still liking TJ Hawkinson and you're going with him. And congratulations if you got him on waivers, no matter who you have as your tight end 1. Playing keep away could be a wonderful thing. Again, best rookie tight end since Mike Ditka. Think so. Makes Marvin Jones, Kenny Golladay less exciting plays with Danny Amendola as a legitimate third target as wide receiver, with TJ Hawkinson as legitimate first target. So we did see Indianapolis roll out a conservative game plan. Detroit might be very content to have a conservative game plan. This could be one of those 2017 kind of games, and Matthew Stafford looked really good, so it could be something about which quarterback makes a play or which receiver makes a play, as both of these quarterbacks are looking like they're already in midseason form.
Well, and Mario asks in the chat room, what do you do with Marvin Jones? I mean, maybe what the heck, flex him?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, this is not going to be a high volume pass offense, and it's going to have 4 mouths to feed now. So I do think you're going to hold on to Marvin Jones, but at the same time, what other things we're going to watch here? Arizona doesn't even have a number 3 corner right now, not a number 1. Who does players like Darius Slay, who's Casey Hayward line up against in this one? So that may give us the key to deciding who to start between Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay, is who opposing defenses are treating as the number 1. But I have a feeling, just like at Iowa, defenses are going to say that tight end, that's the guy we got to worry about.
That's the one you worry about, not the other guy.
Yeah.
Minnesota and Green Bay in a huge battle in that division coming up next after both of them get the win in week 1. Green Bay, a tougher opponent in Chicago with that defense. Certainly Minnesota doing their thing to beat up Atlanta at home. This time they are traveling. So we'll talk about the Minnesota Vikings. Will they actually throw?
Yeah.
We're recording this on Wednesday morning, full disclosure. So we're going to watch the Wednesday practice reports. Diggs had the little hamstring thing last week, right? And Kirk Cousins, let's just not throw at all, and let's run Dalvin Cook down your throat, and Alexander Madison out there doing a good impression of Dalvin Cook as well. Can that work against a Green Bay defense? And I've reached out to some Packers insiders, Bloom, as like, was it you guys? Like, I appreciate the Smith brothers, right? And I appreciate the upgrades that they've made on the defensive side of the ball for the Packers. But was it them, or was it the fact that Mitchell Trubisky's not good at football that led to the success in week 1 for the Packers defense? How does Minnesota attack that? Can just Dalvin Cook down your throat work?
This is a game that is probably going to look like a Greco-Roman wrestling match, my favorite metaphor for the boring games where the teams just lean, or sumo wrestling. Just lean on each other, try to push each other out of the ring. Not a lot of haymakers thrown here. This is an NFC North supremacy game, by the way. Both of these teams want to know, and how great would it be for Green Bay to open 2-0 with wins over Chicago and Minnesota? Minnesota's going to try to stop that with Dalvin Cook. It's shades of Clinton Portis, Cecil. It's all coming together. You've got risky plays with Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs, as Cecil said. Was it just that Mitchell Trubisky wasn't very good, or is it that this Green Bay defense is pretty good? I wouldn't count on them to force Kirk Cousins and this offense out of their shell, though, because when a little preview here, and we're not playing Kyle Rudolph or Irv Smith or any of the tight ends here, but a little preview here. I'm starting to think with Tennessee and the play calling last year, Matt LaFleur was part of the problem. Green Bay's offense wasn't that great, which makes me think, this is going to be a yawner, even though it's a very important game.
Gonna be a yawner until Aaron Rodgers gets sick of it and just starts calling his own plays.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's kind of what it seemed like on Thursday night. Again, the defensive battle, certainly, but Aaron Rodgers was like, screw it. I'm going to throw it. I'm going to target Jimmy Graham. Like, Jimmy Graham got the touchdown. I'm not super excited for Jimmy Graham this week. In fact, Bloom, maybe I have Greg Olsen on my mind. Like, I feel more comfortable if I waited on tight end and I've got a Greg Olsen or Jimmy Graham. I'm just going to go with Olsen. Like, Graham caught the touchdown. I don't think that can be regular with this team. Hope I'm wrong. But we saw Geronimo Allison not get a target. We saw Devontae Adams struggle. Marcus Valdes-Scantling had a nice deep play. And then, of course, we're waiting for Aaron Jones to do some more there for this team as well. So does Aaron Rodgers take the wheel? I know we always, the Carrie Underwood song, Jesus, take the wheel. But, okay, Aaron Rodgers, it's your turn to take the wheel now.
Maybe. The interesting thing here is Aaron Rodgers, I think, is on the record saying he doesn't like play action. And those were the plays that worked. That was the Marcus about, play action was actually what worked. So maybe we don't want Aaron Rodgers to take the wheel, but we saw some very questionable play calling by Matt LaFleur. And so you look at this, and if you started Aaron Jones or Aaron Rodgers and you got burnt in week 1, and you're looking at your other option, you're saying, I should have played Lamar Jackson over Aaron Rodgers. I should have played Dak Prescott over Aaron Rodgers. I'd stick with that this week. If you're looking at your running back, you should have played over Aaron Jones. Even someone like Duke Johnson in a PPR league, someone who's much more likely to give you that 10 or 12 points. I understand that. This is a very tough Minnesota defense. They gave Atlanta fits. Stick with Davante Adams. The targets were there. And again, all we need is one of those plays that Aaron Rodgers draws up in the sand, and Davante Adams, the bottle cap, gets free for the long touchdown. And stick with Marcus Valdes-Scantling. He's clearly the number 2 target and the deep target in this offense. Jimmy Graham's earning that trust. What you really liked about that touchdown was it was Aaron Rodgers say, go up and get a big guy. he went up and got it. So he's not an exciting tight end play that's going to give you 7 for 120 or something like that. But you like the idea that he might be the first option in the red zone. I just don't know how many red zone plays we're going to see in this one.
Is there any chance, and you know that I love Jamal Williams,
Yeah.
but he's not good at football. There's a problem. Is there any chance we'll start to see Dexter Williams mixed in more?
Maybe.
If you're Green Bay, I mean, Jones can't do everything, can he?
Well, here's my take on that. Okay, Dexter Williams had it right down to the wire to beat out Trey Carson. Who? Yeah, exactly. For the third running back spot. He was a healthy scratch. So I don't think we're going to see Dexter Williams up on game days unless Aaron Jones or Jamal Williams gets hurt. Now, if Aaron Jones gets hurt, which I believe he has each of the first 2 years of his career, then we may see Dexter Williams be as valuable or more valuable than Jamal Williams. So I keep that in mind. And also, I think Aaron Jones sees, UTEP two-step and my beautiful wife, Kate. Yes, my wife, wonderful summer. And Roy Robertson Harris. If I'm talking about Green Bay, I'm thinking of another UTEP two-step on defense. So we always like to bring up UTEP, the best stadium in college football. Well, one of the most underrated, the Sun Bowl, and Texas versus the Nation. Oh, we miss you.
Yeah. Just make sure your cell phone doesn't pick up the Mexican towers, or else you're going to get charged a lot of money.
Exactly. International roaming. Expensive.
International roaming. Don't want to do that. And you can pick it up from the stadium there at UTEP. Let's move on in this episode. And Indianapolis and Tennessee is the next game up. And you mentioned it there. Jacoby Brissett, Marlon Mack, of course, putting together that big fight for this team. T.Y. Hilton, not as impacted by this Brissett there. I mean, is it a kinder, gentler Brissett? Of course, better weapons around him, better offensive linemen around him than the last time we saw Brissett as a regular starter for this team. Is it as simple as they did it last week, they'll do it again? Specifically with guys like Hilton. Mack, I've always had faith that Mack's going to be okay. Even, without Andrew Luck, he's the guy that gets impacted the least. I thought Hilton would get impacted the most. I thought Jack Doyle might do a little bit more because he's kind of Brissett's favorite tight end. How about this week on the road against Tennessee, who's feeling their oats after whooping Cleveland's ass?
AFC South showdown weekend. See, ding, ding. It's sorted out. I mean, Andrew Luck's retirement made this even more chaotic. I think we can say, hey, Gardner Minshew played really well, but thank you for that, Cease. He played really well, but Jacksonville we can probably take out of the contention. Still, Houston, Tennessee, Indianapolis, and Houston plays Jacksonville. Spoiler alert. Indianapolis, some of it's Marlon Mack, and some of it's this offensive line. Now, again, a la that Green Bay, Minnesota game, both of these teams, I think, would be perfectly content to have a 13-10, 16-13 kind of game. So I don't think we're going to see a lot of fantasy overachievers in this one, but Jacoby Brissett is fine. And it may well end up that the Colts got a bargain, signing him to that 2-year contract, basically making it so instead of getting, $1 million or something this year, he gets $15 million and he gets that next year. He is probably going to be worth maybe that whole $30 million next year, looking at the quarterback scale. If he keeps playing well, you're leaving Marlon Mack in your lineup here. Although, again, Tennessee, Nick Chubb had some success. Tennessee's defense looked good in that game. Was it Cleveland offensive line? Get to see that on Monday night against the Jets. Just to end the season. But Hilton, that's the Steelers theme this year, by the way. Whatever. Hilton is fine. I mean, maybe he's not going to get those deep targets, but he's still going to get a lot of high percentage targets, and he looks so good. Deion Kane's going to get a bigger role here. Maybe not picking him up, certainly not playing him, watching him with Devin Funchess out, see how they use Paris Campbell. We know the tight ends are hopefully you drop them. But again, the underlying question here is going to be, is Tennessee's defense that good? Cameron Wake, another ageless wonder. The list of ageless wonders in week 1, Cease, makes me very happy.
Yeah, it makes me happy that Deion Kane could be relevant because we've been talking about him on this show for years. Clemson wide receiver. And when you have that size speed combination, just let it go, man. Let it rip. It's a league. We'll see if Deion Kane, and by the way, preemptive pickup, because I'm thinking of Mac's workload and I'm thinking of Mac getting hurt. I'm thinking of Jordan Wilkins.
Yeah.
So,
or, they added Bruce Anderson to the practice squad season.
Right.
Wilkins got that hip, the foot, and Jonathan Williams on the roster. I think he's got a rib injury.
I love Jonathan Williams, but he's always hurt and he's bounced around so much. It's just some sort of disconnect.
We love to say it's the 4th string or the 0th string running back that we can sometimes see value. Bruce Anderson landing on the Indy practice squad got my attention.
Bruce Anderson is an interesting hold in Deep Dynasty. Let's move on to the flip side of this and talk about Tennessee. talk about AJ Brown, honestly, Bloom, and just being that favorite target. Marcus Mariota, thank AJ Brown. Like, seriously, thank him and thank a healthy Delaney Walker, certainly, because those two guys made Mariota look better than probably he actually is. So, again, feeling their oats. They beat Cleveland. You're going to crown them, crown them. This has divisional ties on the line in this one. What kind of performance you're expecting from the Titans?
You gotta love it if you're Tennessee that you can be 2-0. You could absolutely be in control. I mean, not really control 2 weeks in, but feel really good about the start you got off to Mike Vrabel. And you're not going back to Marcus Mariota. Again, this is going to be a conservative, close to the best game, maybe down to the last possession, maybe down to the kickers, which is bad for Indianapolis. Adam Vinatieri. Maybe, the father time catches up with everybody. Not everybody's an ageless wonder forever. So we could see that. Mariota's touchdowns were easy touchdowns to Delaney Walker, to Derrick Henry. So you're not going back to him, but at least he played well. I don't know if they're going to test this Indy secondary, which was vulnerable against the Chargers. It's just not, I think, in their nature to do that. But if they do, they've got A.J. Brown. They've got Corey Davis, who was tied up, I think, a lot by Denzel Ward, but we'll give him one more week, again, to see if they test this Indy secondary. Now this is a low-volume passing game that's too crowded between A.J. Brown and Corey Davis and Adam Humphries and Delaney Walker. Too crowded. You're not really going with anybody here, but we're seeing if Corey Davis deserves a spot on your roster and seeing how wise it was to pick up A.J. Brown. Remember, coming off of a summer that he barely played. Delaney Walker's still a solid tight end one. He got those 2 touchdowns. We'll see if he can follow that up, but he is maybe not truly the number one target, but he'll probably be the most consistent guy week to week in terms of targets. You're still going to stick with Derrick Henry, okay? But at the same time, that touchdown was so easy for him, and he's a game script dependent back. And if the game script here is back and forth, it's just waiting for him to break a long run. It'll be close enough, a low scoring game, that he'll remain central in the offense. But Indy's defense, this is a defense that's improving. So again, this is a game that very, very important, like that Green Bay Minnesota game. Maybe not the most exciting for fantasy lineups. The DFS games to avoid here.
All right, we get to this next part, and there's no way to. It's New England and Miami, right?
Oh, geez.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about Antonio Brown briefly. This is a preview show, okay?
Yeah.
So we're going to preview the actual game. I just want to. I don't know, Bloom. What should we say? Just a word of guidance. There's nothing funny about sexual assault or alleged rape or anything like that. So, when this comes out and Schefter has it and everyone's posting the memes and stuff like that, like, let's get through whatever investigation they need to get through. Let's find out exactly what happened. This isn't the time to be like making light of the situation because it's an incredibly serious situation. And, let's leave it at that. It's New England who, doesn't need Antonio Brown against Miami, who's tanking. Now, I have a theory, and I have checked with people, let's say in the know, Bloom.
Okay.
I think Belichick calls the dogs off. He's not going to drop 59. He might drop 35, but because it's Flores and Belichick has a little bit of a history of this, it made me reach out to people. I think, this isn't a 59 burger like how Baltimore did. It's still a 35 burger. It's still a big win. Miami probably won't score, but the New England side of things, start your Patriots.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's get it done.
Exactly. Sony Michel is the best start of the 3 running backs just because of the chance for short yardage touchdowns. But at the same time, if the game gets out of hand too quickly, maybe it's more of a Rex Burkhead day or maybe more of a James White day. They're more what the heck flexes, as every running back is going to be every week against Miami. Start Tom Brady. That's the easiest one. Start Josh Gordon and Julian Edelman. And then we'll see about Antonio Brown. If he's not playing, even Philip Dorsett creeps into what the heck flex territory. As far as the Brown thing is going to go, I'm not going to say anything specifically about the allegations, but I will say this. The NFL is mostly concerned about perception. and they use things like the commissioner's exempt list or whatever influence they can use behind the scenes to influence perception. And the more we are talking about Antonio Brown, the more that Antonio Brown and things other than football this early in the season are in the headlines, the more they might be tempted to use that, or at least go to Bill Belichick and say, hey, especially this week, they don't need Antonio Brown. So maybe Antonio Brown playing in this game increases the headlines. So if Antonio Brown is not, even if he's not on the sidelines, I don't want to be too harsh about this, but if Antonio Brown is not part of this game, and then next week after the NFL washing machine does its thing and we've got 17 other things to talk about, then Antonio Brown plays. Maybe that's best for the league. Maybe that's best for the perception here. But no, the one thing we can know, it's totally unpredictable what the NFL is going to do with this stuff. Okay. I don't know what Roger Goodell is going to do, but I know he cares about perception.
Caught me right in the middle of the drink.
Yeah.
Okay. There. I didn't say clarity. You said perception, which is true. Miami side, Preston Williams, you heard about first on this show because I talked about him not going to the Broncos local pro day. Mm-hmm. And of course, we know about all of his troubles and he wasn't invited to the combine and all those sorts of things. Like, okay, I'll start Preston as like a crazy what the heck flex, a GPP play, right? We saw the touchdown last week, but you're not starting any Dolphins, Bloom. It's pretty simple.
No, you're not. You're not starting the running backs. You're not starting. I mean, if you're looking for the garbage dumpster fire time play, it could be Preston Williams. It could be Devontae Parker. Albert Wilson's hurt. But know this, Cease, we know this all too well. New England didn't let up on Pittsburgh. When the game was out of hand, New England didn't let Pittsburgh get garbage time touchdowns. New England didn't let you get some backdoor covers on your Steelers plays. So they're not going to do that to Miami either. Sweep the leg.
Yeah, he'll take it easy on Brian Flores.
Maybe.
So I've heard. So I've heard.
Yeah.
We'll watch him drop 50.
Well, who was it that beat the Patriots soundly last year, right? Wasn't it Matt Patricia in one game? And then it's escaping me, but
it makes me think of Josh McDaniels when the Broncos were 6-0 back in 2008. He's pumped his fist because they beat the Patriots, and then they didn't win a game after that. So Belichick will get you, even if he's not getting you. Buffalo and New York up next. It's the Bills against the Giants, and please, Devin Singletary, get more touches. Please, Sean McDermott, use Devin Singletary more, please, and thank you. Frank Gore is an ageless wonder. Smoke. We wondered if Smoke would be that good fit with Josh Allen. Double check on that one. So let's talk about these Bills traveling to face the G-Men.
Yeah, another Super Bowl memories. We love these interconference matchups that remind us of timeless games. And Whitney Houston, may she rest in peace. Josh Allen. So what's interesting here is that when CJ Mosley was in, Josh Allen was a turnover machine. CJ Mosley goes out, Josh Allen is a hero. But John Brown was going to be a strong play either way. Remember, the Giants, everything worked against the Giants. Some of that's Kellen Moore, some of that's Dak Prescott, some of it's what they got with this offensive line and all these weapons. Some of that's I think the Giants defense isn't very good. So Josh Allen as your streaming quarterback, I'm open to that. Certainly John Brown should be in your lineup. He's a wide receiver 3 flex and maybe on the rise. Cole Beasley's an interesting guy here. He got a lot of targets, had a drop that resulted in that pick 6, had another drop on a play that could have been a big play, but still a big part of this offense. So you're looking at him in deeper PPR leagues as someone to consider. And you mentioned Devin Singletary. Just so good on a per touch basis. They're treating him more as the scat back right now, but we knew coming in to the season that his role would grow to what he earned. Yeah, he earned some more in this one. So Giants defense look a little bit better not facing Dallas, maybe a little bit. Buffalo's offense look a little bit better not facing the Jets. Are the Jets a shutdown defense? I don't know. But hey, Cease, the Bills could start 2-0 if they win this one. We love our Bills fans. 26 shirts. Del Reed, Mr. Deadlier, Pancho Villa, rest in peace. We'll see some more. And Oliver out there. So, I'm rooting for the Bills to be 2-0 after this one.
Pancho Villa, man. Orla place. Let's go talk about the Giants. And everybody's banged up. Sterling Shepard now has a concussion. So lots of Cody Latimer and Benny Fowler, I guess. Here we go. It's time.
What does that see? It's like the 2015 Broncos end of the roster or something?
Right. The player to catch the final pass from Peyton Manning, which you will not find in the stat sheet, by the way, because it was a 2-point conversion, was Benny Fowler.
Hmm.
There's a little piece of trivia for you.
Okay.
Piece of trivia. Saquon Barkley's good.
Yeah.
How about that for fine fantasy analysis? Start Saquon Barkley. Duh.
Yeah, well, and I was going to say, well, that means Benny Fowler has a chance to be the last one to catch a pass from Eli Manning too. Wouldn't that be quite? Wouldn't that be quite
poetic?
Is it going to be week 2? Maybe not week 2. That's what I think of this game, though. See, so I think of this game. I think Daniel Jones watch because the Bills' defense is good. Some of it is, and again, how much of it is Adam Gase just throw the short pass to the slot receiver, and how much of it is, hey, this Buffalo defense is good. Sean McDermott has built a good defense again with Ed Oliver in there, Tremaine Edmonds. The Steelers got the bad Edmonds. They got 2 of the Edmonds, and they still didn't get the good Edmonds.
But we knew that going in. Like that's
know.
the thing. It's like first round. What? Okay.
I know.
Just end it. Just please.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
Seriously.
We're gonna get there in a little bit.
We will. So Sterling Shepard, the concussion, Evan Ingram going to catch 20 passes in this game? I mean, he's going to have a line like Jamison Crowder's line last week against the Bills. So yeah, we'll see some Cody Latimer and Benny Fowler. Buffalo's defense compressed that field against the Jets, and the Giants, well, that's their game plan. Lots of Saquon Barkley in this one. So yeah, I think Buffalo should be looking at this as a great opportunity to go 2-0, and for the Giants, again, it's just a question of, well, if Eli Manning is the quarterback, as long as they're in contention, at what point do they look in the mirror and say, yeah, we're not contenders?
Speaking of not contenders, we wrap up part 1 of the week 2 preview here on the Audible with Seattle and Pittsburgh. Now, Seattle's fine. Pittsburgh is not. So it's fitting, I guess we'll end with the Steelers on this show. But let's get to Seattle and Chris Carson impressing as that receiver and obviously as a runner, as that really just pound it into your face, jackhammer, battering ram for this Seattle offense. DK Metcalf still limited in what he can do, but they're using him in what he does best, and he looks good doing it. So use him a little bit more in the red zone, get some big targets for the big man. That would be pretty cool. I'd like to see Tyler Lockett get more than 2 targets. Is that possible? And by the way, the second target, which he dropped, was going to be a 40-plus yarder. So, you know, it could have been 2 for 80 and a touch or whatever, instead of 2 for 40, whatever it was in a touch. So, Seattle, you saw some things you liked. You saw some things that you want to see a little bit more of. Do we get that this week? Yeah, it's going to be, for some reason, something. You take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have Steelers are going to be bad this season. That's just, I can't. It's everywhere I look, I see the Steelers are going to be bad this season. But for fantasy, doesn't this feel like, see, we know these scripts, right? Mm-hmm. A good quarterback comes into Heinz Field. It's probably going to be a high-scoring game. It's probably going to be a back-and-forth game because we saw the Seattle defense not really slow down Zach Taylor and Andy Dalton without A.J. Green. So I think this is going to be one of those games where they say, okay, Russell Wilson, see if you can pull a rabbit out of the hat. So this is a good Russell Wilson game. I think it's a good Tyler Lockett game. The Bengals double covered Tyler Lockett most of the game. He said he hadn't seen that for a long time. What does that mean? See, Steelers are going to cover him with Vince Williams. So yeah, it's going to be a good Tyler Lockett game. It's going to be a good DK Metcalf game. And Chris Carson, if there is a bright spot, see, our moms told us, say nice things when we can. Steelers run defense was good. That was good. So, Chris Carson, you're still going to play because he might lead this team in targets this year at this rate. Might not be a lot on the ground for him. But I think this is going to be a game for all those Steelers fans that, again, it's not like it down here in New Orleans. They love the team unconditionally. Pittsburgh is not really like that. And we'll see if the Boo Birds come out. But hey, Steelers fans up there going to Heinz Field, know that you're going to get a chance to see Russell Wilson play, something you only get to see once every 8 years. I don't know, but I think he'll be around the league long enough to play there maybe one more time, but enjoy that. Enjoy it, certainly. Maybe not enjoying the outcome. I'm going to enjoy speaking English first. Then I'm going to enjoy starting James Washington this week. I'm going to enjoy it because I'm going to be drinking when I do it, but still, if you talk about what the heck flex, I think there's a perfect setup for James Washington this week to be that guy that pays off for you when you're just like tossing your hands up, be like, what the heck flex? Yeah, it's James Washington. Juju, we know. James Conner, we know. Vance McDonald, we hope. Ben Roethlisberger. Whatever. Every time we say Ben Roethlisberger this year, I'm just going to say whatever. Whatever, man. You want Ben in your lineup? Whatever.
You're going to be drinking because you have to watch the Denver-Chicago game, and you need to do
God.
something to make it entertaining. So you need to get your RPMs up before that game even starts. The Steelers' offense was just lethargic, but Cincinnati was able to pass well against Seattle. You'd assume Roethlisberger and maybe the road home splits are back. Still, Roethlisberger's more of a streamer at this point. You want to get Connor on track, but again, Cincinnati passed a ton. And Seattle, I mean, if you're going to attack them, you're going to attack them through the air, not so much on the ground, kind of like the Steelers defense. You're still going to play James Conner, but if it doesn't go well in this game, if this offense doesn't wake up, then we're starting to get worried about Connor. Juju's coming in with that toe. Man, this feels like if John Ross could have had 10 for 250 against Seattle, then Juju's probably going to do it, okay? But at the same time, you mentioned James Washington, and then we've got Mike Tomlin. Well, if Dante Moncrief doesn't play, it won't be because he dropped the ball 4 times. See, that's like whenever a pitcher, I'm doing baseball on you, when a pitcher gives up 4 walks in a row, it's not like Doc Ellis, who I think hit 4 batters in a row. It's like if a pitcher can't get the ball over the plate 4 times in a row, you pull him out of the game. You don't ever let a receiver get beyond 4 drops, okay? So yeah, it should be James Washington. Again, it was the safety play that was very suspect, helping John Ross have a big game. So that points to James Washington. Maybe the rookie Deontay Johnson getting more, and he was getting some good separation. But please, I don't care if you want to protect Dante Moncrief's ego and say it wasn't because he dropped the ball, and say whatever you want. Say we're just trying some new stuff out and seeing what's going to happen. Please bench Dante Moncrief.
Please stash Deontay Johnson.
Yeah. KGB. I love fellow KGB. I love the fantasy fellowship. So yeah, I think that. But this is all assuming the Steelers' offense gets out of the doldrums. So let us pray. But that might be all we have to rely on as Steelers fans this year.
Yay! All right. That's a wrap for part 1 of the week 2 preview here on the Audible. We will have part 2 for you Thursday morning, hot and fresh. Make sure to check us out on our YouTube channel. Of course, Bloomy had On the Couch yesterday on a YouTube channel, Scott Barrett. So check that out. Subscribe, like, comment, share the video as well. And we certainly appreciate that because the channel's growing because of your guys' efforts. Again, you love the show. You love footballguys.com. You want to help us out? Hit that like button. Comment on the video. And we appreciate you for doing that because YouTube kind of sets things up for corporate shows, not as much for independent creators. So let's fight back against the man that owns everything anyway. But let's start another podcast about that, Bloom. But
we're going to do
either way, that's a wrap. Thank you very much. I got to go talk to Danny Trevathan. So we'll see you guys later. Stay tuned. And as always, stay blankety blank frosty.